You work hard to get your flight instructor certificate. It takes blood, sweat, and yes, maybe even some tears. Understanding how to maintain that certificate is important. So let's look at the recent experience requirements, limitations, and responsibilities of your flight instructor certificate. Well, first off, as a flight instructor, you need to maintain recent experience in order to actually instruct students. And you might know this by a few other names, recency or currency. Your currency as an instructor lasts for 24 calendar months, at which point you reach your recent experience end date, or just recency end date. Because the FAA uses calendar months, your recency end date will always lapse at the end of the month. Go beyond that without renewing your currency and you can no longer provide instruction. It does not expire, but you now have to reinstate your instructor privileges. More on that in a bit. Thankfully, the FAA gives you several options to maintain recent experience as an instructor. First off, you can renew your certificate by taking another CFI practical test. And this can be one of the ratings listed on your current CFI certificate or an additional flight instructor rating. Another way to establish currency is by being an active and successful instructor. To the FAA, that means in the last 24 calendar months, you have a record of training students showing you have endorsed at least 5 students for a practical test, and at least 80% of those students passed on their first attempt. The FAA considers that a satisfactory pass rate. Just take those records to your local FSDO and they'll renew your currency. Now, if you happen to be a company check pilot, chief flight instructor, company check airman, flight instructor in a Part 121 or 135 operation, or in any position involving the regular evaluation of pilots in the last 24 calendar months, you can take those records to your local FSDO and they'll renew your currency. And the same applies if you passed an official U.S. Armed Forces Military Instructor Pilot exam or Pilot Examiner Proficiency Check in the last 24 months. You can also use an FAA-sponsored pilot proficiency program to maintain your currency. And that would be the Wings Pilot Proficiency Program or something similar. To renew through this method, you'll need to give at least 15 flight activities through the Pilot Proficiency Program, during which you evaluate at least 5 different pilots. And this again needs to be in the last 24 calendar months. Finally, you can do what many CFIs do and use a Flight Instructor Refresher Course, or a FIRC for short. But here's something you'll want to keep in mind if you choose to use a FIRC. To keep your current recency end date, you need to complete the course within the 3 months preceding your recency end month. And that's just a fancy way the FAA uses of saying 4 months before your recency end date. So if your recency ends in December, you can complete the course anytime after September 1st and keep the same month. If you complete it early, whatever month you finish the course will be your new recency end date. And it also comes with a unique perk. See, after your 24-month currency period ends, the FAA offers an additional 3-month grace period, where you can still reinstate your privileges as an instructor by using a FIRC. Think of it as a sort of 3-month grace period. Now, once you complete one of these options for establishing recent experience as an instructor, you'll need to fill out an 8710 application in IACRA and have a DPE or an ACR review and sign it off. Now, it may take some time to process your renewal though, so be sure to get it done early. But just in case you don't, IACRA gives you some time to continue signing off applicants before you lose that privilege. Now let's assume you've let your currency as an instructor lapse. You didn't renew during the first 24 months, and you didn't reinstate during the 3-month grace period. Well, the FARs now require you to pass an appropriate practical test. And that means you have to take a check ride to have your privileges reinstated. There's nothing more fun than taking another CFI check ride, right? And that is why a renewal program like a FIRC is so popular.